So we are in the middle of chapter 5, this very special, powerful, significant advantage of Torah study that we only get with Torah study, which is that the Torah becomes the food of our soul. So in the beginning of the chapter, we focused on the embrace, the double embrace, how my mind is containing God's mind, God's thoughts as they are in Torah. And simultaneously, the Torah contains my mind. So my mind is containing and being contained by God's thoughts, God's wisdom, the Torah. And then we said this simultaneously happening, which of course I can not do this with my hands because it doesn't work in the physical world. But this happening like this creates this enormous fusion. The closest way we ever get to God is through studying Torah. That oneness, this double containment becomes this absolute oneness that is so unbelievable. Like the Rebbe said, Yichud niflash and Yichud kamocha erkon nimsa klal b'gashmi is this fusion that's so wondrous. And there's nothing like that in the entire world because we have the infinity of God, and then we have us, our brains, and the infinity of God's thoughts, and they're one. And that was the bulk of this chapter, or we want to call it the first half, or the both. Now, the second half, the second part of the chapter, we're focusing on this second, or we might call it third advantage, which is that we digest Torah. We internalize Torah. Torah becomes the food of our soul. And as we said, it's the only food our soul has. No mitzvah is digested by my soul. Only Torah, because every mitzvah is happening, if you will, around me, right? My hand takes a charity or swipes a credit card, takes the coin, puts it in the charity box, writes the check. It's an external expression of me. Even if my lips are moving and saying words of prayers, it's possible that's still an external expression of me. But for Torah study to be Torah study, it only counts as Torah study if I completely digest it. If I learn Torah sincerely, I'm trying, I'm paying attention, I'm saying the words out loud, but I don't exactly understand what I'm saying, it's not Torah study. We said if it's part of the written Torah, it counts as saying words of Torah, Shevachsav, written Torah, but it's not Torah study. For it to be Torah study, you have to digest the concepts. You have to break them down, crumble them. It just comes into you and feeds you because God is life. The source of life is God. And God is in this Torah that you're studying. It's God's will and wisdom. So Torah is God's will and wisdom. When I'm digesting the Torah, I'm breaking it down. I'm extracting its energy, which is the God in it, which is what it is. It's God's will and wisdom. And that God energy is feeding me, is giving me life. So that's why Torah is uniquely food and no other commandment. And that's Torah can be food. It can feed you because within Torah is God. Torah is God's will and wisdom. Within Torah is God energy. God energy is life. The antithesis or absence or not revealed presence of God is the absence of life. And God is life. And evil is the opposite of life. So when I'm digesting Torah, I'm digesting God. I'm extracting the God in the Torah. That's what's uncovered as I consume it and break it down in my psyche. I'm getting God. I'm getting life. And that's why Torah is my food. Now, the Alter Rebbe is saying this here in Tanya, in Likutei Torah, on Parshas Bahar. The Alter Rebbe explains, he goes through the steps, so to speak, of the food process in terms of Torah, from the planting to the grinding to the kneading to the baking to have the food, the bread that's going to sustain you, bread as the staple of all life. The Alter Rebbe says, Torah is your food. And we have these same 4 steps in Torah. First, we have the zriya, the sowing. Right, so if you take a seed and you put it in the ground, for the plant to grow, as we all know, the seed has to rot, right? So the seed rots, it decays in the ground, and then the power of vegetation in that seed is connecting to the power of vegetation in the earth, and something flowers from that rot. So the Rebbe says, in you, as you're studying, there's also has to be that breakdown that you're not limiting yourself to the knowledge you're studying, but what you're feeling, what you're appreciating, what you're focusing on, what you're accessing is the godliness in that knowledge. is the God in that Torah. And this comes, Rebbe says, through a Mesiras Nefesh, a self-sacrifice, that your real focus is on sensing God. And he says, if you study after you pray, and when you pray, you're also focused on appreciating and feeling and sensing the God in your prayers, then it's more natural to have that same experience when you study. But again, the sowing is the breakdown of the seed, and the breakdown of that seed mirrors, if you will, the breakdown in us that we are able to, just like the seed, the outer shell falls away and what's there sort of opens up in its rotting process. So the outer shell on the Torah, which is the knowledge, can, so to speak, fall away. And what we're connecting to is the godliness inside of it. That's the sowing. The grinding, the Rebbe says, is the grinding of self, which is the nullification. Like we're grinding ourselves down. We're nullifying ourselves to this godliness. The kneading, when you're kneading, you're adding this water to pull together the mixture. And the Rebbe says the water symbolizes our love for God. And our love for God is what pulls everything together and what pulls us toward God. And then, even more strongly, is the baking. Because baking is with fire. So there's a love like water, and then there's a love like fire, an even much more intense love. And from that fire love, the product, the food is formed. So there's a self-sacrifice to really almost put intellect aside, though this is an intellectual process, and connect to the godliness, a nullification of self, a love like water, drawing us to God, and a love like fire, even more intense, that bakes the final product so we're able to truly digest this Torah we learn. Now, if you don't go through all of these steps and you're just learning Torah and you're sincere, and as we're going to say, you're learning Lishma, there's some layer of higher intent, then on some level, of course, the Torah still becomes food. But the Alter over here is writing I'd say the high road, the ultimate road of how you really can extract all the nutrients, all the nutrition in the food of Torah that you're digesting. Did anyone have any thoughts over the week, or did this help anyone focus more or learn more because they were thinking, wait, I'm feeding my soul?
I felt more connected, actually, Dafka, when I was reading the words of the Tehillim, the love to God. I did feel like, I don't know, I did feel like being there, part of that, you know what I mean, of what David HaMelech was writing about Hashem. So, yeah, definitely.
That's beautiful. Because we spoke about Tehillim also. That's beautiful. As having this sort of synergy of Torah and prayer. So that's really beautiful. So hopefully for all of us, as we continue, at a certain point, there's an integration, there's a digestion, there's a click. And when we're learning Torah, we could remember, oh my gosh, I'm feeding my soul. My soul is so blessed. It's getting food. Or, wow, I want to go study. I think my soul needs some food. I can go give it food. I can study. I can do my soul this favor. I can study. So we are 5 lines from the bottom of the page. And because in the knowledge of Torah, when we're learning Torah, Torah is engarbed in the soul of man, visichlo, and his intellect. So here, for the first time, really, the Rebbe is bringing the concept of soul, meaning from the beginning of the chapter until now, we were talking about how Torah impacts our minds, right? The double embrace, my mind containing God's Torah containing my mind, this fusion, this absolute oneness of my mind with God, with the Torah. And now we're saying, and deeper than the mind, of course, is the soul. And when we're studying Torah, the soul is now absorbing this energy of Torah. And of course, however significant it is, the mind, how much more so is it significant that we're feeding our soul? It's engarbed within them, meaning Torah gets into my soul. Unlike, as we said, the commandment, which actually does not. The commandment surrounds my soul. but Torah's energy is digested. So it's digested in my soul. And that's why Torah uniquely is called the bread. Bread as a stable food, the food of the soul. And now we're creating this parable, very understandable parable, because we all know about food. Because just like physical bread, sustains the body. When you take it inside of you, when it gets literally into your insides, and it becomes there, to be your blood and flesh, right? You take the food and you chew it and you swallow it, and your, digestive enzymes get to work and it breaks down and it becomes part of your blood. It becomes part of your flesh. It becomes part of your fat. It becomes part of your body. That's why we have to be so careful with kosher, because the food literally becomes us. And then when you took this food and it broke down, a healthy person, healthy body becomes part of your body. Well, what happens? You can live, you could exist because you have food inside of you. God forbid if you didn't. That was the parable. And now what the parable represents, the mashal and the nimshal, kach b'yediyas haTorah v'asagasa b'nefesh ha'adam, so too with the knowledge of Torah. Torah is being grasped in the soul of man. Again, now we're not talking about the brain. The first whole part of the chapter was the brain. Now we're focusing on the soul. Shalom dehetev, that you learn the Torah very well. Be'ion sichlo, with a deep analysis of your mind. As we've said many times, if you're not understanding, it doesn't count. You can't space out and learn, which of course I do sometimes. So I'm very good at spacing out and learning. And like, oh, I finished. What did I just learn? No clue. Did that become food for my soul? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, no, it didn't. If your brain's not there and you're not learning and digesting the concepts, it doesn't become the food. Like we said, if you're davening, you're learning and you're reading the words, not giving it the time to understand, not spacing in to understand, not being able to understand, it doesn't become food. But if you really utilize your brain, the Rebbe is saying, until it's grasped by your mind, and becomes one with your mind, and they become fused, they become one, as the advantage we said in the first half of the chapter. Well, this flows from the first half to the second half, meaning it has to start by your mind and then it gets into your soul. So you have to start having the first advantages, that you're learning it well, that you're focused, that you're grasping it and being grasped by it, until there's this absolute fusion of you when the thoughts of man and the thoughts of God become one. And then nase mazon lanefesh, it becomes the food, the sustenance for the soul. Imagine those poor, impoverished, starving people who never learned Torah. Imagine how, I can't even fathom how starving their souls are. They never get any food. But when you learn and it becomes food for your soul, you digested it intellectually, and therefore you can digest it spiritually. V'chayim b'kirba. It becomes life inside of the soul. From the source of life, from the one who is life, the infinity of God himself. Who is engarbed in the Chachma and Torah inside of you. So again, I'm learning the Torah with my brain, really understanding it. And therefore I'm breaking it down and accessing the God energy inside of it. And God is the source of life. So therefore this Torah with this God energy is giving me life. It's giving my soul life. That's why it's called food. Food, I break it down, life from my body. Torah, I break it down by intellectually understanding it, and also spiritually having this intention, as we'll discuss in a second, life for my soul. I'm not making this up. I can prove it to you, so to speak. Your Torah is within my inwards. Torah is becoming like the food. So that's in the written Torah, that's in Nigla, as we would say. And we also have a Kabbalistic proof. So we have the written Torah and the oral Torah. Is a proof from the written Torah. Eitz Chaim is a proof from the oral Torah. We have the revealed Torah and the esoteric Torah. This verse is an expression of the revealed Torah, what we call Nigla. And the Eitz Chaim is Kabbalah, the Eitz Chaim is the writings of Reb Chaim Vital, who wrote down and recorded the teachings of the Arizal HaKadosh, the second greatest Kabbalist of all times. So the writings in the Eitz Chaim are all Kabbalah, are all the Pnimius HaTorah, the inner dimension. So the body of Torah, the soul of Torah, the written Torah, the oral Torah, the revealed Torah, the esoteric Torah. Showing on both dimensions, we see the same concept. So as is written in the Eitz Chaim, again, the writings of Reb Chaim Vital, recording the teachings of the Arizal HaKadosh, in the 44th gate, 3rd chapter. So what does he write there? Shelvushe haneshamos began Eden hein ha-mitzvos, the garments of the souls in Gan Eden, the afterlife, finish this world and waiting for redemption, waiting for Mashiach. What do the souls do? They're in this great waiting room called Gan Eden, and they have these beautiful garments created by the commandments they did in this world. The Torah hi hamazon, and Torah is a food. For the souls that were involved in this world in studying Torah for her sake. As is explained in the Zohar, also Kabbalistic source, foundational work of Kabbalah, the Zohar, on Parshas Vayakel, page 210. So, in the written Torah, your Torah is inside of my insides, within my intestines, within my insides. It's saying if Torah is in my insides, Torah is food. It's in my intestinal tract. It's food. It's the food of my soul. In the Eitz Chaim in Kabbalah, we're expounding on this and saying that in Gan Eden is the repository of souls who are no longer in this world, but have not yet experienced redemption, Mashiach, right? So the person lives through this world, perhaps has to go through some afterlife cleansing, and then basks in the reward of Gan Eden, waiting for us on planet Earth to bring Mashiach. So it's like the most beautiful, unimaginable, exquisite waiting room you can ever not imagine. It's so amazing. What are the souls doing in Gan Eden? Well, they're studying Torah, we're told. They can have Hebraians, they can have gatherings, they can have learning sessions, lots and lots of things that surround Torah, and they are basking in the glow of all the commandments they did on this world. Now, in Gan Eden, mitzvahs are not so dominant. They're not as significant. What's significant in Gan Eden is Torah study, because Gan Eden is a spiritual reality, right? It's not physical at all. It's souls without their bodies in a spiritual realm called Gan Eden. So it's a purely spiritual existence. And in the spiritual existence, Torah, which is a very spiritual pursuit for human beings on planet Earth, that's what's really impactful. When we have the redemption, when we have Mashiach, and everybody comes back, and we have Trias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead, then mitzvahs will be more significant. The acts that you did, the commandments of serving God, will be more significant because you're going to be back in a physical reality, soul in a physical body, on physical planet Earth. Yes, of course, it's Mashiach, so it will be a perfect planet Earth, a perfect body, absolutely. But then all the mitzvahs you did will be much more significant and will play into your relationship to God at that time. But in Gan Eden, what's really dominant is your Torah study. And as we're saying here, your Torah study is what's feeding your soul. So it's not only now at this moment you feel shvach, you feel weak, your soul feels depleted, you don't have the energy to like pick yourself up and do things for God. Study Torah. Take a break. Take a food break. Feed your soul. You'll be energized. You'll be able to give God more. The more you study, the more you'll be able to go out and do those commandments because you'll have energy. You'll have vitality. That's all true. And the Rebbe is saying it continues into Gan Eden. So after a person passes away, for the eternity of their Gan Eden, meaning forever long that soul is in Gan Eden, we're, of course, at the end of the road. Mashiach's coming. But a person could have passed away 2,000 years ago. And for that 2,000 some years that they're in Gan Eden, their soul is being fed by the Torah they studied in this world. It doesn't run out on them. It's not like, well, how long could Torah study last for? How long could this food last? It lasts for those 2,000 years. It's constantly lasting and constantly feeding the soul. So it's an amazing concept. Because when I learn Torah, I'm feeding my soul now, and I can feel it. If I'm hungry, if I'm weak, I can feel the energy I get when I study Torah. Yeah. But it continues. And in Gan Eden, I'm feeding my soul as well. From Torah, I study here, now, in this world. To compare it, Eitz Chaim brings in the mitzvahs. And Eitz Chaim, again, Eitz Chaim is a writer, Chaim Vital, who's recording the teachings of the Arizal HaKadosh, the Arizal from Tzfas, second greatest Kabbalist of all times. And the Arizal explains, as recorded in the Eitz Chaim, that mitzvahs are not feeding your soul. So both in this world, when you do mitzvahs, your soul is not getting food. And also in Gan Eden, your soul is not getting food from the mitzvahs. So what are the mitzvahs doing for your soul? So I'm saying, again, there's this life, there's the afterlife, Gan Eden, what we call Olam Haba, the world to come, meaning the beautiful, amazing waiting room when we're basking in the divine presence. And then there's the resurrection by Mashiach, by the redemption, when all souls come back in body, and then mitzvahs are very significant. What are mitzvahs doing for you in Gan Eden? Do they do anything for you? Yeah, they do. But it's not as significant as what Torah does for you, because Torah is giving you life, Torah is giving you food. But the mitzvahs give you protection, because the mitzvahs are like clothing. Clothing protects. So what do you need protection from in Gan Eden? What you need protection from, so to speak, it might sound strange to call that protection, but it's like a filtering system, is the rays of the divine presence. Meaning we have three spiritual energies here. We have the spiritual energy of your soul, the soul in the Gan Eden. We have the spiritual energy of all the mitzvahs you did, any mitzvah you ever did in your lifetime, all the commandments. And we have the spiritual energy, what's called the Ziv HaShechina, the rays of God's presence. So we have the rays of God's presence showering Gan Eden, whatever chamber of Gan Eden you deserve to be in, with the glow. But if you're naked of mitzvahs, you can't absorb that glow. It will like burn you up. But every drop of clothing you have is a filter that allows you to absorb that glow. So it's protection, meaning it's allowing you to take in the glow without getting harmed by it. So if a person doesn't have too many items of clothing because they didn't do too many commandments in their lifetime, so they have a few skimpy clothing, and in those few skimpy clothing, they could absorb some of the glow. But the more, the more. So the mitzvahs are protection, and your soul in Gan Eden is getting the protection from those rays. Again, the godliness of the rays, the godliness of your soul, the rays would just wipe away your soul. So we need the protection, the filter that's allowing me to absorb them. And those are the commandments. Another way of understanding it is another way of looking at this concept, that every mitzvah is really creating the ziv, the glow of God that your soul absorbs in Gan Eden. Meaning when we're in this world, we're workers. We know that. We're working, and we're not necessarily feeling the God that we're accessing. We're not feeling that God at all. We might feel good, we might feel spiritual, we might feel holy, we might feel accomplished, we might feel a love of God and a fear of God. We're not feeling God. We can't. But every mitzvah is drawing down a piece of God energy into this world. When a person passes away, the Ziv HaShechina, the rays of the divine presence that the soul absorbs in Gan Eden, are the rays created by the mitzvahs, meaning it's ray specific. Each mitzvah you did, each commandment you fulfilled is generating another ray that you can absorb because you did that mitzvah. And that's how the mitzvahs are the garments, and they're the protection, and they're the rays, and they're allowing you to absorb the rays throughout the duration of your time in Gan Eden. But they're not food for your soul. Not now, when your soul feels weak and it needs food. The only food it can get is through Torah. And even in Gan Eden, the dominancy, after everything I'm saying about what the mitzvahs do, that's secondary to Torah. Gan Eden is a spiritual plane, and spirituality is what's dominant, and Torah is a spiritual expression of God. It's God's will and wisdom in its spiritual, non-obstructed by physicality form. So all that Torah we study, that's what's so significant in Gan Eden, and that's what's feeding our soul for the duration of Gan Eden. Sarah?
So I have a question. What if somebody didn't have the tools to learn Torah? Like I'll give an example. My mother was thrown out of Hebrew school because they couldn't afford to pay. She learned brachos and different things by heart, but she never even learned Kriya. So she wasn't really, she listened to things sometimes and whatnot, but she really didn't have the tools to learn. Where does somebody like that fall?
So that's a great question. I was actually thinking, as soon as I saw your hand raised, oh, Sarah's thinking about her mother. This class is dedicated to her mother. One, this was not your mother's first time in this world. It's not any of our first time in this world. We've been here many, many times. So clearly, this lifetime of your mother's soul, she was not gaining Torah, but she was maybe gaining other things, charity and raising a wonderful daughter like you, and whatever else her soul needed. But this journey of hers, this time around, was not a journey where her soul gained Torah. So since we're at the end of the road, my assumption is she must have accrued the Torah for her soul in a previous lifetime, right? Because the soul is many times. And what it comes down for is what it didn't yet achieve. So obviously her soul had already achieved Torah in a previous lifetime, and that's what's currently feeding her soul in Gan Eden.
That's so comforting. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Whoa.
Absolutely.
Hope it helps someone else here.
I
too.
had a question too.
Also, you're learning now is helping her soul because your Torah study is part of her Torah study because she raised you. Esther?
Yes, so the souls do study Torah in Gan Eden, right?
Absolutely. That's what they do in Gan Eden, they study Torah.
So is it a more powerful study than what we do down here?
It's a different study, but in terms of becoming food, the food is from the Torah of this world, not the Torah of Gan Eden. They are studying Gan Eden, but it seems like the food is really generated by what they did in this world, or as I said, what they've done in a previous lifetime, or what people that are connected to them, the Torah, the person's learning, and could be dedicating to that soul. So if it's like in Sarah's case, a child to her mother, we're told that everything that child does automatically is credited to their parents because they're your parents. You are who you are because of them. Of course, especially if you intend, or if someone else who passed away, if you intend and say, this Torah study, I don't want it to be for me, I want it to be for them, I want them to reap the benefits, then they can also, that soul that departed can also have the benefits of your Torah study. Yes, the souls in Gan Eden now are basically studying Torah. That is as we understand it. Now, again, there's also this constant progression, as we know, that the souls are going higher, and then they go through nullification, and they immerse themselves in obviously a spiritual concept of a river, the Nahar Dinar, the Dinar River of purification, and when there's a breakdown and going to a higher level. It says that the souls are constantly growing. In the Jewish, you say, all right, yeah, when can you rest? After 120. But that's a mistake. Because no, the souls up there are not resting. The souls are studying, connecting to God, acquiring greater and greater nullification to God, and through that nullification, ascending higher and higher. Also, of course, fuel what we do for the soul. What?
Do they daven?
We don't ever see this concept of davening. We say they study Torah.
What about laning?
No. So they study Torah. They're not physical. They don't have any of the commandments. They can't do commandments. They're studying Torah not as a commandment. The soul, when you're disembodied, when the soul is not within a body, it says, Bamesim chofshi. It's a quote from Tehillim, from Psalms, which means the dead are free. What are they free from? They're free from commandments. Why are they free from commandments? What if I don't want to be free from commandments? Well, they're free from commandments if you want it or not, because when you're not in a body, you don't have commandments. So therefore, anything that's a commandment, like laning or davening, has no relationship to the soul. But Torah study is not only a commandment. Torah study is connecting to God's will and wisdom. So the souls want to connect to God's will and wisdom, so therefore they study Torah, not as a commandment. They're not commanded. They're souls. But we are commanded, and when we do any mitzvah, we can have in mind the one who passed away, and we can say to God, this should be in their merit. And what we mean by that is that even the souls in Gan Eden need the merits that we send them, which the Rebbe calls like gift packages, care packages, I would say, that we send the souls because they want to ascend. And the packages of commandments, of Torah study, of charity, that we send, this is what's propelling the soul's ascent higher and higher. And that's all the soul wants, is to ascend. And that's what the
Do
soul.
they connect with the other souls up there?
Yes. Yes, they absolutely do. 100%.
And they connect with us down here?
Yes, they absolutely can. 100%.
Okay.
Malky?
Yeah, it's actually funny. You actually answered what I was going to ask regarding
Perfect.
the whole thing about with is when you were saying they learn Torah. I'm like, they learn Torah, but they can't do mitzvahs. So it's kind of interesting that you kind of have it. They could still learn Torah, but not do mitzvahs. So that's like to me just fascinating. I was like, it's also interesting because they don't have Shabbos, or some say they do. I don't know, but we
So
have
the souls
Shabbos.
aren't doing a mitzvah of Shabbos. The souls are affected by Shabbos. It says Shabbos,
Mhm.
Rosh
Yeah.
Chodesh, and Yantif. The soul ascends. Most souls are in what's called the lower Gan Eden, and the high
Mhm.
Gan Eden is for like the souls of Tzaddikim, the very righteous.
Mhm.
And on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Yantif, the souls ascend from the lower Gan Eden to the higher Gan Eden. So they have a very spiritual experience on Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh, and Yantif, but they're not keeping Shabbos as we would envision the term. Rama?
Interesting.
I just wanted to, how about the idea of like the souls or the parents praying for you when you need help? Like, isn't there such a concept?
Yeah, it wouldn't be, it's not praying.
Praying?
It's not praying. It's not davening. Souls aren't davening, but there's the concept that the soul, we say it should be a good, the better, right? Should ask well on our behalf. And definitely, of course, if someone is in trouble, it's a very traditional Jewish thing to go to the gravesite of a parent and to ask them to do something on high. So it's not exactly as we would envision davening, but that the soul has the ability to turn to God, being in a completely God space, and because we're pulling on the soul and we're saying, please help us, use your merits to help us, that the soul in turn can turn to God and bring down the salvation that we're looking for. And we have to sort of go and ask, because from the soul perspective, they're not bothered by the same things that bother us. They understand it too. They understand too much. They see too much. Oh, but this, they see the whole story. We're like, no. Like, bottom line, we need the salvation. Don't understand it so well. Just pull down the salvation that we're requesting. And 100%. That's totally traditional Judaism perspective, that we can turn to the souls of the departed. We don't usually do this in the first year after a person passed away. Say that's not a time that we can or should do this, because they're busy with their own ascension and elevation from the junk of planet Earth. But after the first year, absolutely. We go, you could look at a picture of someone that passed away that you're close to, or you go to the gravesite of someone that passed away and you ask, or it's on a yard site, it's on a birthday, and you ask. And they have a power. They're above. So they have a few direct strings there, and please pull them. Absolutely. 100%. But that would not be considered davening. The souls aren't davening. They don't have a shacharis or a mincha or a ma'ariv. They're not davening, but they can turn to God and pull and ask for us. And you can say, well, if they know, why do I have to ask them? But as I'm saying, from a soul's perspective, they get a little bit away from feeling the pains we feel in this world. And therefore we have to remind them that we desperately need this. Because maybe from a more globalized perspective, it doesn't seem as dire as it seems to us when we're going through it, or we see people we love going through it. Anyone else?
Do we need to be at the grave or have a picture, or can we just connect with them without that?
We can just connect. I'm sure we can just connect, but it is very traditional to go to the gravesite to ask. Though people, I think this is a lot of what we call hergation feelings. There's definitely the concept, like let's say there's a wedding, to go to the gravesite and leave an invitation. And definitely you can say, I don't have to go to the gravesite to leave an invitation. I could look at the picture and invite them. I don't have to look at a picture. I could think of them and invite them. So all are valid. It's not that you have to do one over the other, or one's better or one's worse. It's how you connect. So we will stop at this point. What we are up to discussing is this term lishma. There was this little caveat there in the learning of Torah, as I mentioned before, as it's brought down here in the Eitz Chaim, that for the Torah to be digestible, It has to be studied lishma, for God's sake. And if it's not studied for God's sake, it cannot digest. It could sort of be like if you have a raw potato. Okay, raw potato has a lot of nutrients in it, but if you eat it raw, it's probably going to harm your body. But when you heat it up with a fire, if you cook it, you bake it, you microwave it, then it's digestible. And then all of its nutritional value, my body can digest. So when I'm studying, I need something to like add fire to the food of Torah, the fire of my love for God, the fire of my lishma, intention for the sake of God. And this makes the Torah, all those nutrients, digestible in my soul, as we'll discuss next week. Does someone